When we think about a memory of trauma that we have yet to heal and we relive that in our mind, is it almost just like we're living that moment all over again?
Yeah, but it's not one that you have yet to heal. It can be one you've healed. If you think about something small and incredibly irritating that happened 15 years ago, and you start literally thinking through the details, you're going to start to feel really irritated. It has zero consequence or meaning in the present, none. But that's how we are. I mean, our emotional reflection reactivates these things. And it's important because if you're spinning about, oh, I'm not this enough or that enough, and that person rejected me, was it for the same reason? Is it this? Like, what's going on? Like, you start to question yourself, and that's just doing damage to your self-esteem. Because if it's after one date, and really, truly, if it's after 5, whatever the reason is, it's about chemistry. It's about fit. It's about timing. It's not personal. It's personal in that you might not have been good fit for them, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person or not a great fit for anyone else.
Why do so many people take it personally when they get rejected in a dating situation or relationship?
It's not only that. They take it personally and then they generalize it to mean something even bigger than what it does. I never find love. Really? She just didn't swipe back. That seems like a leap in inference to make from that, but it's a very natural thing we do. We assume it's us. Now, literally, people do that when they texted with somebody back and forth for a bit, and then that person disappears. You have no idea if you're even talking to a real person. You have no idea. That person might be in the hospital. They might have been chatting with you to piss off the person they're actually living with at the time. They might be going through whatever hell week at work. There's 1,000 things that can be going on for you to assume that you did something wrong in 5 texts that was so bad that it's completely unnecessary, but that's where the mind goes. Wow. So let's stop that damage. That's the first thing to not do. But the thing you can do is the opposite. You want to remind yourself in those moments of what you bring to the table, what you do have to offer. Now, you can't fool yourself. You can't say to yourself, I'm the most gorgeous person in the world, if you're not. Right. And if the feedback that you get is that you're not, because your mind won't believe that. You know, we have this automatic way of thinking that will reject things that fall outside the sphere of what it considers believable. And so you can't just convince yourself of something that's not true. You have to focus on the things that are. So think about your best attributes. I have amazing eyes. I know I'm going to find someone who'll want to gaze into them. I am such a great listener. I'm emotionally available, and I'm always up for doing things. Those are wonderful qualities and characters that somebody will appreciate, etc. You actually review what is worthwhile about you and not do the opposite.
It almost sounds like before you start dating or getting into a relationship, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is build your self-esteem, is what it sounds like. Because when you have a quality or high level of self-esteem, you're not going to get into a relationship that's not good for you. You're not going to stay in one where someone's treating you poorly or not respecting your boundaries, or you're not going to take the scraps of something because you're just lonely, right? So building self-esteem sounds like a great foundation for the individual before even getting into a relationship.
It is doing, and the way you do that is doing what you did in your relationship on an individual level, i.e. you get to know yourself and you get to accept yourself.
All the parts of you.
All the parts of you, because there's no one who's perfect, right? Every good quality you have comes with a downside. It's going to be true of everyone, right?
Give me an example for yourself.
For me?
Yeah, what's a good quality that comes with a downside?
I can think of several, but okay. I have a sense of humor.
You're very funny.
I enjoy my sense of humor. I sometimes deploy it in ways that are maybe not
bad timing or something, or
yes, because if the joke is going to be funny, I'm going to say it no matter what, just because I can't pass it up.
Yeah, and
I am going to be upsetting someone by doing so. Potentially, I try not to. It leaks out in sessions sometimes
when they're sad and whatever. Inappropriate moments.
I'll give you a quote, and I'll give you, this is terrible. Actually, I shouldn't do it just because it makes me sound so bad.
Good. Now you have to do it. You have to do it.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything about the person, but it was a session in which somebody was having an issue in a relationship. And I was challenging them on why they're not, setting more limits with their partner who needed limits set with them.
Setting boundaries.
Right. Yeah. And they said, yeah, that's how it is. And this person was very successful, and they said, that's how it is. I'm a lion in the boardroom and a pussycat in the bedroom. And I said, I agree with every word except cat. It was funny to me, not funny to the other person.
Wow.
I apologized for it. I apologize again if they happen to be listening. That wasn't, but the point was actually sound.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't need to, but the joke was dangling, and I couldn't. And so here's a thing that has a downside.
Sure.
Right? Somebody who's very, very, let's say, conscientious about things, that's a wonderful thing that they're conscientious. But it's also a standard that they're probably going to likely have, that they'll likely want to hold you to as well. So lovely to receive it, but then they're going to be expecting it.
Yes.
And so that can be a pain, sometimes. I mean, there's always a downside to things.
Yeah.
So you just have to learn to accept and to go, this is great. Yes, it comes with that. I'll accept it because I like that.
Yeah, exactly. If someone has gone through a heartache or has, sadness or felt rejected in their life right now, and they're looking to rebuild their self-esteem and rebuild a powerful, strong self-identity, what would you say are 3 to 5 things they could start with over the next few months to build a powerful self-esteem so that they can make a better decision in their next dating relationship experience?
So first of all, they have to be honest with themselves about, you have to, these are writing exercises.
Yes.
You can't maintain so many data points in your head, but you want to make a list then of what are the qualities that you like about yourself, what are the ones that you don't, and be honest. This is private. No one else is going to see it. So be very, very honest with yourself. Like, what are the things about you that you think are good? And the fact that you have them doesn't mean that they're in performance all the time. You might miss at times, but generally I tend to be this, and generally there's also that, so laying it out. B, which of the that's, of the things you're not that thrilled with, do you actually want to work on and improve? Because we're all, or should be, trying to improve on a regular basis. And so here's your list of where you can spend, where the opportunities are, as they say in job reviews. This is where your opportunities are to improve here and here. So where are the opportunities? And then how can you go about it? And choose one at a time, because these are the difficult things. But work on yourself. That's the first thing.
The first one. Make a list of the good qualities and the opportunities for growth.
Correct. Secondly, you need to get in touch with how you feel, because this is all an emotional thing, and we are remarkably emotionally inarticulate. Our language, and I literally mean our ability to distinguish what we feel, the nuances of what we feel, is extraordinarily limited. Men are usually worse than women, but generally this is something that, when I ask people, how do you feel? They're like, cool, okay. Right. And I'm like, give me, this was a complex situation that happened over there. This happened, this, like, you must have difficult, all kinds of feelings about it. Yeah, so I'm bummed. Right. Not a feeling, really. I mean, it implies one, but it's not.
I can relate to that. Before you go on, I can relate to that for men or women watching or listening, because my default emotion was anger. But really, it was, I felt betrayed. I felt not enough. I felt rejected. I felt sad. I felt alone. I felt misunderstood. It was like, a waterfall of emotions that I was feeling. But all of it led to, I don't know how to communicate this. So I'm just kind of angry. And I'm going to react with something that's familiar, which is anger. And whether that's defending myself or working harder or proving my worth, whatever it might be, I'm going to use anger as the emotion to communicate my words and my energy in the situation. And it was very challenging to learn how to communicate. And I just feel really sad. I feel really hurt. I feel like alone. I feel like misunderstood. I feel betrayed by my friend or whatever it might be. And it was challenging for me because I lacked the tools on how to communicate those things. So I think what you're saying is really important, is like, specifically, I think men who haven't learned the tools beyond anger or numbness of emotion on how to say what is really going on. And I think the reason why it was hard for me to communicate those things, I was kind of like a jock growing up in the Midwest, that I didn't think communicating those things would be accepted. I think they would be laughed at. And it's probably because they were laughed at. They would have been in school with my guy friends at 13 to 16, they were kind of made fun of. And so when you enter a relationship and you're late teens, 20s, it's like, okay, well, is this person is a girl going to make fun of me that I'm dating if I say I'm sad or I'm lonely? Are they going to think I'm weak? So it's kind of a protection mechanism, I guess. At least it was for me. And I had to really learn how to have self-esteem and self-confidence, which when you're lonely, sad, or feeling not enough, it's hard to build that to where you can express emotion and accept yourself either way if the person in front of you doesn't accept you.
Right.
That's the challenging thing, to be like, can I love myself and express it if the other person's going to laugh at me or make fun of me?
Here's what else your anger did. And this is why it's a go-to for many, many people. It actually saves you from having to deal with the more uncomfortable feelings of sadness, of disappointment, of betrayal, feeling misunderstood, all those things that you mentioned. In other words, anger, it's considered like a negative or a bad feeling, but it actually doesn't feel that bad.
No, it feels
it's
good.
Quite activating.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. And so you go to a feeling that's externalizing and activating to avoid feeling sad, feeling vulnerable, feeling bereft, all the other feelings you had. So anger is not just, it's my go-to. Instead, it prevents you from having to deal with the actual feelings that are going on, which is why it's problematic.
And when you have an emotion like anger that prevents you from feeling what's actually going on, what happens to the brain and the body when you do that?
Well, what I say to people, number one, is like, be suspicious of anger, because there are very few situations. I mean, we respond with anger when we're hurt. Mm-hmm. That's like you stub your toe. Everyone I know will smack the file cabinet. It's a file cabinet. You didn't do it on purpose. That was your toe that interrupted. Whatever. But my point is, that's our default response, and so that's why when you're hurt, you're going to get angry. That is the default. That's how we evolved. It's a protective mechanism because our brain doesn't distinguish that well, if at all, between emotional and physical pain.